The Doing Business report, which is a World Bank flagship, this year finds that it's easier to do business in the world globally than in previous year. So we've seen 137 economies implementing reforms across the world in the areas measured in the report. In particular, we saw 283 reforms across those different economies, which is considerably higher than what we've seen in the past. It's, for instance, an improvement of 20% compared to last year. And several of these reforms are actually taking place where it's most needed. So over a quarter of the reforms are happening in sub-Saharan Africa, where business regulations are the most complicated on average. So there is a big effort to improve in that continent. We're very excited this year to add a gender part to Doing Business. In 3 different topics, we're actually asking if the process is different if you have a woman or a man doing the transaction. So for instance, in starting a business, we're looking, if the entrepreneur was a woman, would this process be different? And we see that in 23 economies, it actually would have been different if we're looking at a woman. In particular, in Afghanistan, the woman needs permission to actually leave the house to be able to go to the registry and start and register a business. We also see that in 16 economies, there is a difference in property rights. So women have less property rights than men. And in 17 economies, when it comes to enforcing contracts, so going through court and going through that process, also women are in a disadvantage vis-a-vis men. In addition to the gender part, we're also looking within paying taxes, we're looking also at post-filing processes, which is an innovation this year, which means what happens after a firm pays taxes. So if there's a value-added tax refund, if there's a corporate income tax audit, what is that process? So that also provides extra information of the hurdles that firms need to deal with on their day-to-day life operating. The World Bank Doing Business report measures different areas of business regulation, and they're all about things that make it easier or harder for firms to do business. So, for instance, the process of starting a business, how long it takes, what are the steps you have to go through, the cost that you have to incur in order to be able to start a business, also to transfer property. So if you're selling property between one business and the other, or if you're importing and exporting, what is the logistic process of that? And we've seen a lot of improvement in these areas in the past few years. In particular, starting a business is the area with the highest number of reforms, where we had 49 economies that did one reform in this particular area. And there we can see, for instance, 10 years ago, the average time to start a business was over a month, or a month and a half, and now it's around 21 days in the world. So there is a big improvement. Also, for instance, transferring property, one striking example is Rwanda, where a decade ago it took 370 days, so over a year to transfer property. Now it only takes 12 days. So there is a lot of improvement, and these are the type of areas that we measure in Doing Business.